Welcome to New Hampshire Politics with John Burt. I'm John Burt. I want to thank you for joining me today. And today we have a very special guest, and he's a good friend of mine. And it's Representative Brandon Phinney. And you're from Rochester, District 24.
Yes, that is wards 4 and 5 in the city.
Oh, so you're not all of Rochester?
No.
Oh.
Nope.
Well, Brandon, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you, sharing your time with me, and I just want to touch base with you because you've done some pretty unique things that I admire, and I want to talk to you about them.
Awesome, thank you.
That's why I'm glad you came on.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, one is you're in your first or second term.
First term.
Your first term.
Yep.
And how did you get elected? What brought you to politics? What made you, say, I want to be a state rep? Because, as the viewers know, we're only getting paid $100 a year to do this.
Well,
so you want to be there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm actually, pretty passionate about, what happens in state government. And actually, so I've been into politics since around 2008 when Ron Paul ran for office.
Yeah.
He kind of opened up my eyes to, to new ideas. And but it wasn't really until I was overseas with my unit, because I'm still in the military actually, and I was deployed in 2015, and I was watching some of the things happening back home, and it actually was the passage of Operation Granite Hammer that kind of infuriated me, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't agree with how this is being conducted. So, instead of being a part of the problem and complaining, I was like, I'll just, put my hat in the ring and see what happens. And I got home that Christmas of 2015, so I had to wait until June of 2016. But then that time prior to filing for campaigning, I just met with people. I got to know people in the Republican Party, which is
Yes.
the ticket I ran on.
Yeah.
I got elected just going to people's doors and saying, hey, like, I'm a young guy, like,
Yeah, that's what I do.
I'm one of the youngest people in the house. I'm only 29, so. But I think it was nice for people to see a young, fresh face, and someone so eager to do positive things. And
Yeah.
and I actually lost Ward 4, but I won Ward 5, and that carried me over enough to actually get elected. So I was
Yes.
pretty happy about that.
Now, on Granite Hammer, which I did oppose, I feel the same about you. Do you want to tell the viewers, because they're like, what's Granite Hammer?
So-
and I do agree with you. We shouldn't have it. It's not working in my eyes.
So what I saw ended up happening was the House suspended the House rules to spend, I think it was $2 million to implement a new enforcement program against drug dealers and and the users in the state. But what I ended up finding was that a lot of people getting arrested through the program were the addicts and not the people that were selling it.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
we were kind of perpetuating the problem instead of actually fixing anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't want taxpayer money to be used for that.
Yes. Yeah. And that is the problem with Granite Hammer, was they weren't arresting the right people.
Right.
They were abusing the money,
Right.
the taxpayers' money.
And my views on drugs in general, I think that the state is taking the wrong approach to how we are fixing the opioid problem in this state.
Yeah.
There are a lot of false correlations with marijuana, for instance, and heroin use. But I think that we're slowly culturally getting to the point where people are being more open to allowing others more personal freedom and how they use their own bodies. And I think that's what the state has to recognize, is that we can't put the laws in place to say you can't ingest that or you can't smoke that. Or, we don't agree with those choices, but we're not the entity to say, like, you're now a criminal for doing that.
Yes.
And I think that's
Yeah.
what that program is trying to do.
Well, and I think Brandon, our problems are too, is I'm on criminal justice. I see it all the time, and I try to fight this, like I voted against the new women's prison that they just built. I think they tripled the beds. And I said, if you build it, they will fill it.
Every time.
Yeah, and I'm against that because, Dan McGuire, good friend of mine, he's said many times in my committee that In 1978, 80, somewheres in there, we had like 300 prisoners. But they were the hardcore prisoners, the ones that did harm,
Right.
murdered, rape, bad people. Now, 80% are drug users, and
It's-
at a huge cost.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work for the long term. It's not financially sustainable for the state. And Senator Hassan came in and touted the opening of the prison, and I thought that was a joke. I mean, why are we coming in, in here and saying it's a good thing that we're having new prisons being opened up in the state? No, I mean, like, we
Yeah.
need to change our laws as far as what constitutes an actual crime. But that's a whole philosophical conversation. I'm sure that we don't have time
Yeah.
for.
Yes. Now, what did I know you said you went door to door.
Mm-hmm.
I tried in my first term. I went to over 1,000 doors, and that's hard to do, especially in Goffstown, Ware, and Dearne that I represent, because some of the houses are spread out pretty far. But,
Yeah.
what did you do? Did you go door to door a lot, or did you do mailers or anything else?
I tried to do the door-to-door on the weekends.
Yeah, and that's positive.
Yes, and I got a lot of great feedback from people that were wary about some guy, who was banging on their door. But once they, saw like what I was trying to do, they were, more open and friendly about the ideas of me, campaigning for office and what my ideas were. And I've been pretty consistent as far as what my principles are. And I use the word, being a libertarian, I put that word on my campaign stuff because that's what my foundational principles are.
Yeah.
I got elected as a Republican, as you know, and I switched parties last June, and that was a
Yes.
big shock to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the reason I did that, and I'm sure that was another question of yours.
Yep, that was the next one. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
did. I know that you're a libertarian now.
Yep. Officially a Libertarian Party.
Yes.
But as far as my philosophical and political influences, that philosophy has always been the underlying foundation for me.
Yeah.
Being in the actual political party now, I was finding that the Republican Party had a lot of infighting, a lot of fractured caucuses.
Yes,
There
a
wasn't
lot.
a lot of cohesive togetherness, I guess you could use the
Yeah.
word. I mean, there was a lot of like, I don't want to do things for you, and there was like, if you don't do this for me, then such and such, and I didn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that was being voted in, the spending money on social programs, for instance. I think there was a better way of going about those things, and ultimately it was the state budget that was the last nail in the coffin for me. And
Yeah.
I had a conversation with the governor in his office, and I was like, look, like, you are the first person to hear this from me, but I cannot be in a political party that I've been elected to that's going to violate what I ran on, is going to violate my personal principles on this, and I cannot be a part of this anymore. I'm not going to vote for this budget, and I'm going to jump ship. And he actually was pretty graceful about it. Didn't really, give me any attitude for it. He was like, I understand. I'm sorry to, see you go, but we'd had some conversations about some of the concerns that I had with how much spending. I think it was like $600 million more spending. I was
Yeah.
like, this is mind blowing.
Yeah,
like
it is.
We're a state of like 1.3 million people, and we're spending $12 billion.
Yeah.
Like, that's craziness to me. So I was like, I can't do that to the people that got me elected. So that was it for me, and I waited until after the House sessions were done for the year, and that's when I had my press conference.
Yeah.
So.
Now, how do you think that'll work out with re-election? Will you go to the same doors and tell them, look, I'm still the same person that you elected over here, but I'm sticking to my true roots?
That's exactly right, John. And
Yeah.
I want people to see me for what I've done, and not
Yes.
really the letter that's that's on my name. Like, I've done some really great things. I'm proud of how I voted. I've had some success in bills that I've sponsored, which I'll get to in a bit. It's just really fun, being a part of the process, and I don't want to see that stop.
Yes.
I think that I can do a lot of good here. I made a lot of great friends, including you for, and now I'm on your show. So
Yes.
I want to keep doing this, and I want to have a positive impact for the state. I care a lot about the direction that we're going in financially, socially. Just so many factors that I feel like I'm at the beginning of all this still.
Yeah.
So
Now, does Rochester have a local access show like we do here in Goffstown?
we do. We
Really?
do.
You should get on there.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Because it does help. I mean, I have a lot of people that follow the show, and it does help. Because what's really funny too, Brandon, is I sometimes I feel like I offend everybody at least twice a year, and I still get reelected, and it's like, okay, what happened here? But do you know Mark Warden?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, very good friend of mine, and well, he was a state rep here in Goffstown, and we used to campaign together. I really like him. He gave me a test one time. I don't know if I ever told you this, on being a libertarian. He goes, John, you're a libertarian. You're a closet libertarian. And I said, no, I'm really a conservative. I said, if there was a conservative party, that's where I'd be, but we don't have one.
Right.
So I said, that's why I'm in the Republican Party, so I'm a really conservative. And he says, take this test. So I took the test, and I came out at like 96.5. And I can't remember what it was that I didn't get right on. He's like, John, see, I told you.
You're right there.
That's what
You're
he told
right
me.
there. I know it's not politically expedient to switch parties because we have that two-party monopoly on politics here in the country, and people only see black and white. But I'm trying to be a part of the movement to kind of change that.
Yeah.
We actually are the most free state in the country. And so we're a prime breeding ground, for libertarian principles, and a lot of people come here because of our politics and because of how well our government kind of works.
Yes, yes, yeah. No, I think if you campaign on your positive message of, you're the same person and you believe in the same things, and you elected
I have not
me.
changed.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Just the letter might change, but you're still fighting for the same things that the Republicans really want.
And the wards that I come from is actually very purple. It's not like one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I have a very unique opportunity to appeal to both sides of the aisle and say, look, like I'm supportive of some social things here, and I'm supportive of keeping more money in your pocket there, and I've done that. I can prove it. You can see my votes, and you can see the bills that I've sponsored. Like I'm very confident in what I've been able to accomplish.
Yes, yeah. And now you were the prime on several bills, and the prime sponsor is the person that puts the bill in, and you're the head person. Everything comes down to you. You want to talk about like House Bill 656 that you put in.
I was a co-sponsor with.
Oh, you're a co-sponsor on that bill.
Right.
Okay, who's the prime on that one?
I'm Glenn Aldrich.
Oh, Glenn. Oh, yeah. I like Glenn. He's funny.
I've just been very, public and prominent about the issue.
Okay.
But I spoke on the House floor on that bill when it was first coming to us, and actually I was Steve Shirtless actually came up to me. It was like I was so close to voting for your way, and I was like, if I would have had you, I would have had your entire caucus.
Yes.
Oh, I was so close.
Yeah.
But I'm very passionate about this. Speaking as a former corrections officer, I had a lot of conversation with inmates about like how they became addicted to certain substances and whatnot. And I'd already known this, but I wanted to hear it from them. And it was never about the marijuana issue. It was always about like, some guys even like worked construction and they got hurt and they were prescribed painkillers, and that's kind of what started the road. And I was trying to make the argument from the House floor that like, this issue, we've been smoking weed as a society for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make criminals out of people for possessing a plant. And we need to get to the point where we're not allowing other states who surround us to get the one up on us on the issue, and just allow people to be free, allow them to make their own choices without government interference, without putting them in jail for it. And we're pretty close. I have to give our governor a lot of credit for at least passing the decriminalization aspect of it. We've expanded the medical program, but I want to get to the point where we're completely out of the issue altogether. And other states have already done that, and they've seen a lot of great success in doing so.
Well, I know the House usually passes it.
We have.
It's the Senate.
And
It's like a cement wall, just.
Well, they seem to be of the mind where if the governor's not going to support it, they're not going to support it. Because why would they bother voting in for something that's not going to pass? But I'm glad that we don't think that way.
Yes.
Because we're kind of the first step in the process.
Yeah.
So we need to make a stand on something. And what happened after we passed it the first time was it went to Ways and Means. But on the House floor, we passed an amendment to remove the taxation part of the bill. So it should never have gone to Ways and Means in the first place. And I tried to introduce the bill to that committee, and my testimony was not allowed because it didn't pertain to the income part of the bill. But I was like, well, there's sections of the bill that still allow people to be fined, kind of like a parking ticket if they violate certain things. That's still in statute.
Well, that should have gone to criminal justice then.
That's kind of what we were trying to say, but they wouldn't, kick the bill back. They wanted it because they wanted to kill it, and it was unfortunate that's kind of how politics works. But we tried to fight on the House floor, and it ended up being interim study, which in a second year kind of still effectively kills the bill. But if I'm still in office, then I'm not going to let the issue go. If it won't be sponsored, I will probably sponsor it again.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Rochester, is that in Stratford County?
Yes.
It is. All right. Well, I've had the honor to go to Stratford County Jail. Not in handcuffs. I want to point that out. But I went to see some prisoners there as a group of reps. When we sat down with the women, they were the best. The statements they made really made me sit down, Brandon. I'm telling you, I was like, wow, it changed me. We all asked them, was it marijuana that got you into harder drugs? Every one of them said no. They started with their parents' alcohol.
Really?
That's what some of them said.
Well,
They said, we're taking we're drinking, and then we got into we did marijuana, but then they got into the harder drugs, and they said, no, we wouldn't say it was that. Right. And that's right from the horse's mouth. So that's what I keep looking at is.
And our state sells the alcohol in the state, and won't allow the private sector to do that. How hypocritical is that?
Yes. Well, and I bring that up every now and then. I say, well, maybe we need to get rid of the alcohol in the state. But I think it's a $600 million cash cow.
It's always about the money, John. That's what it always comes down to.
Follow the money. And,
Every time.
Yeah. But no, so it was just it surprised me when I was in there and I asked the group of guys that we got to speak to, and they both said no, marijuana is really nothing to us.
Stratford County also has a very successful drug court program too.
They do. They've done well. I wished Hillsborough would follow them.
They're on their way. They're on their way. I think every state's trying to get to not every state, every county is trying to get to the point where this might be the only way to keep people out of jail, to fix the recidivism, the rates with this problem. And
yes,
I think if we can see it as a way to actually help people's behavioral problems and not see it as a criminal issue, we might actually see some success.
Yeah, and I'd like to see our numbers go down too in prisons.
Absolutely,
we have to.
Absolutely. Well, we've been trying to change some of the drug laws. Me and Dan Hines pulled a bill off consent that would have allowed the courts a lot more flexibility in sentencing. From felonies down to misdemeanors, and the House just doesn't seem to understand. We're trying to provide more ways to keep people out of jails and prisons, but we want to see as we're being tough on crime. Well, you're being tough on crime with the wrong people.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so frustrating because I try to convey that. I think a lot of us do, but a lot of people are just stuck in their ways, and they're stuck in their ideas about the issue, and they just won't budge. So, but it's a fight that's worth having.
Yeah, oh yes, and I think over time. I think there'll be gains.
Absolutely.
Toward that.
Absolutely.
But it just takes time, so you got to get reelected.
I'm hoping to be here.
Yes. And now you also put in, or your sponsor on 1285, House Bill 1285.
Yes.
And what is that?
So, so funny thing. I've been playing in bands for a big part of my life, and there's a little known rule in the state where if you're performing on stage, you're not actually allowed to physically have a drink on the stage, and a lot of people don't know that.
When you told me that earlier, I'm like, what?
We're one of the only states in the entire country that still I'm actually enforces that rule. And I have friends who actually book shows in Manchester, and they're like, we actually have had bands be like, we might not want to play here if we can't have. I mean, so the idea of the bill was not really about the alcohol part of it. So it actually was changing employment law, saying that entertainers like bands and comedians, people who dance, they're not employees of the venue.
No.
They don't do employment paperwork.
They probably get a 1099 at the end of the year.
Exactly.
And that's self-employed.
Everybody knows that except for the state, apparently. So
Yeah.
I put in a bill
so that's how this works.
Yes.
Okay, that's why they can't, because the state says they're employees.
Right. And so if the the Liquor Commission comes in and they see somebody who's playing a show and they have a drink here, the venue can be fined up to $1,000 or more.
Whoa.
And they can have their the license to sell suspended or permanently revoked. And that's what I was trying to avoid. So my bill changes that. And I honestly, when I presented the bill to the House Commerce Committee, I was absolutely blown away at the unanimous ought to pass.
Wow.
And they even amended it to include the dancers. So
Really?
I got a ton
Wow.
of support. The Liquor Commission actually came in and signed in favor of the bill. And they had said, honestly, that they don't have the people to actually enforce it.
Yeah.
It's impossible. There's
Now where's the bill now then? Heading to the Senate?
I just found out today, and I'm so giddy about it, I found out today that the Senate Commerce Committee, they ought to pass as well.
Wow.
So they have scheduled a Senate vote for the 19th, so next Thursday.
Yeah.
Now,
Now, do you know how many votes did they get out of the Senate? and
that's the
committee?
one thing I didn't get to see.
Because
I
there's
just saw
usually
it online.
5 members.
Yeah, I just saw it online. So
That'd be sweet if you got unanimous.
oh man, I'm so excited because being a first-term rep and having a bill that I care about that has my name on it pass and have our governor sign it. I can't think of a better win than that.
Yeah.
And it's just, I know it's not a huge bill. My first term in office has always been about getting rid of unenforceable laws.
Yes.
Stupid things on the books that have never gone away, or they're just so old that they have no bearing on modern times. And I did, put in other bills for that issue, and they passed the House, but they died in some other committee or something. So, but this is the one bill I've held on to hope to, and I'm really proud as its journey through the process. So. I'm going to take this as a win today, and I can say to the voters, look, like I've actually been able to do something good here.
Yeah.
I'm taking away a law. I'm not adding a law. I'm not taking away more of your money or your personal freedom. I'm actually giving it back to you.
Yes.
So that's the stuff that I get pretty excited about, and that's like a part of the LP platform.
Yes.
Is to get rid of laws that have no bearing on anything really.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm very fortunate in Goffstown, Ware, and Deeren that I represent. Even though it's 3 towns and it's a lot of people, it's a huge area.
Right.
But they're huge Second Amendment supporters. So that's usually what I send out in a mailer.
Good.
I did this and this and this for your Second Amendment, and I'm a huge Second Amendment, and I know you've always been with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But now, District 4 and 5 you're with?
Wards 4 and 5.
Wards 4 and 5.
Yeah.
What's the makeup there?
So Ward 4 was mostly Democrat, so I'm in a D+1. That's what Stratford 24 is, so it leans more Democrat. But I think with the really strange 2016 presidential, race, Ward 5 carried me. There's a lot more people in Ward 5, and they're a little more conservative, I want to say.
Yeah.
Ward 4 has a lot of the downtown area. So it's a pretty interesting mix. I have a unique opportunity when I go door to door and send out the mailers, and to highlight some of the things that I've done on both sides of the aisle. I'm really interested to get more feedback from the more democratic, the voters in the city. I've actually been trying to implement a town hall.
Yeah.
I held one
I've
last.
done a few, and they're good.
I tried to hold one last month, but I didn't put in, enough time to get people aware of it, so nobody came, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I needed to pick a better time,
Yes.
and day during the week. But that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to do to consistently do the outreach. I went and spoke with Peter Bixby and 2 senators to a 4-H group. They asked us to come and talk about being I'm an elected official and asked us questions about bills, and they were able to let their voices be heard on their issues. And I'm passionate about letting the community be involved in what we do. I'm all about transparency. I'm all about being accountable.
Yes.
So everything I do in office is all online. I have a website, a Twitter, a Facebook, and I do all of that to let people know. I mean, I think I'm the only state rep in the entire House who does a live stream after every session. And people come up to me now and they're like, I can't wait for your video today. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
people are paying attention.
Yes.
And I'm telling them all about what we're doing. And not a lot of people are doing that anymore. you know?
No. I mean, I have a huge following on Facebook, and I do my show here.
Right,
But,
right, absolutely.
But and that helps. It really does.
It's like, it's also a way for me to kind of vent about the day, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I get my calendar out and I'm like, oh, that bill, I was so angry about that bill, or I was really passionate about this bill. And a lot of people, they are so engaged with that ability to be able to see me in my element, kind of being myself and be like, look, like, this is how I feel. This is how I feel about
Yeah.
this issue, and about the bill. I didn't like that it passed, or I didn't like that it was killed, and I like being able to do that. I look forward to it every week.
Yes, yeah. Now, with Marcy's Law, I did want to bring that up a little bit because I am a sponsor on it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
At first, and the reason I'm a sponsor on it is at first when they came to me, the bill is not what it is today. They said that it would be, ABC, and now it's, DEF. There's a lot difference. I
Right.
mean, it's night and day.
Right.
I will not support the bill, as it sits. I don't even really think I would support it in its original form anymore because, when filing period, as you know, everything goes fast.
Yeah.
Everybody's scrambling, hey, you want to be on my bill? What is it about? Oh, yeah, I like the concept of that, so you
Right.
sign on. I think that's what happened here. I've done it, this is my second bill, I've done that too. I can't recall what the other bill was, but it was like, ooh, I shouldn't have been on that one. And so I hurried up and got, bailed on that bill. But how do you feel on that? Because what Marcy's Law is, briefly to the voters or the viewers, is originally it was supposed to protect and give constitutional rights to the victim. Now, in my eyes, when the bill came forward, it was the victim after there was a guilty, and it's not. There's a victim right at the beginning, and the police determine who that victim is. And I'm like, whoa, no, judge and jury are supposed to do that.
Right.
So there's a lot of things in the bill currently that will not go past me. So, I was just curious how you felt on that.
My concern is, I feel like we could have accomplished this as a statutory bill.
Yes.
And not as a
Yeah.
constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are wary of amending our Constitution, and so they run the risk of having it killed based on that alone.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand that we need to protect all parties involved in any crime situation and going to court and whatnot, but I think that we run into a problem where someone's due process is violated. They're not, we don't want to tip the balance of both parties involved, too much one way or the other. I think every person who is accused of a crime has a right to be heard in court, has a right to face their accuser, and I think after a conviction, the other parties involved have a right not to be seen or heard from that person again, or harassed or stalked, and
when they get out of prison, they should be known when they're getting
there
out.
has to be a way to let people know, hey, like, such and such a person is out of prison now. Like, we want you to be aware of where he's going to be, or she's going to be. I think that's what the bill was trying to do, actually.
Originally.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think now that it's morphed into like, well, we're giving, the rights that they already have and a constitutional amendment, I think it would have had more effect as a statutory bill, in my opinion.
Well, I sat in on an 8-hour hearing. That's a long time for a hearing.
Yeah. Wow.
I heard a lot of testimony, and the opposition, or the people who support Marcy's law, did not dispute most of what I heard on the opposition side. I know you're going to be shocked, but the state exempted themselves from any harm.
Oh, of course they did. Why wouldn't they?
Well, you know what concerns me, Brandon, on this is that they want a constitution, or they want a constitutional right to be exempt. Right now, they have statutory immunity, but we can still sue them, and in some cases can win. Once it's constitutional immunity, how would we ever sue them? You couldn't. So that's a huge red flag when I heard that. And then again, the police get to pick the winner, or the victim and the non-victim. A person got up, well, it was Bob Clegg, he got up and he said, if somebody breaks into your house and you shoot him and you don't kill him, once the police arrive and walk in, the guy breaking in, the bad guy, I gave up. I surrendered and he still shot me. Right? He's a victim at that point.
And there's no proof to prove otherwise.
That's
really.
right. And I'm like, whoa. So then the homeowner is going to be arrested.
And that actually happens in some states.
It does.
Where they're still arrested, and that's craziness. Where
Yeah.
you have the natural and constitutional, the right to own and carry firearms and protect your body and your property.
Yeah.
And if you even can't do that, I mean, what society are we? Are we actually free at that point?
No.
And that's the kind of questions that we need to ask ourselves when coming across a bill that would either expand, state sovereignty in some way, or give more power to the police. Not that I'm anti-police, but I think some.
Yes. Yeah. I'm the same way.
But we have to kind of like minimize some of the power here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the bad problem that we have is that there's only a very few bad police. But the good ones protect them. And it's like, why do you do that? Throw them out, throw them out.
Well, the bad ones who,
And it makes them look bad.
That I remember the video that went viral of the guy in the hotel. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was, there had been a call that they thought he was sticking a gun out of a window. When they went in, pulled the guy out out of the room.
Yeah.
The lady was able to go free, but they made him drag himself across the floor. They didn't like his movements, and they shot him dead.
Yeah.
It's all on video.
Yeah.
It was proven that the commands given were not able to be complied with, and he was killed for it.
Yeah.
And that cop got off on that charge. That's the kind of stuff that infuriates people and makes them want to march out in the street. And and I'm fine with protesting and all that, but obviously you have to be smart about it and safe. But those kind of issues, I can see why people are so incensed against police because of there is no accountability for them. It seems like there's no way to have a grievance against them if they've done something wrong, against you or your family.
Yeah.
It's kind of an us against them.
Well, what I'm wondering is and I've looked briefly at it, is I was hoping that we could put in a bill at some point to make police like nurses. The doctors and nurses and LNAs, license, LPNs and anybody in the medical field. If they see abuse, they by law have to report it. And if they don't, they're as guilty as the person that did the abuse. Because my wife's a nurse.
That's pretty strong.
It is.
It's pretty strong. I like it, actually.
She says what it's done is so you're really not ratting anybody out. You're following the law.
Right.
And I'm wondering if we gave that option to the huge number of quality, good cops that we do have, and they do want to protect us and try to do right, if that would give them an avenue to say, hey, you messed up here. We're not going to have that.
Right. Well,
there's got to be a way to help them.
I've gotten a college education in this field. Criminal, uh, the
Yeah.
justice field is very passionate, subject for me, where I care a lot about the relationship, between those in authority and those in the public, and I think the relationship has been skewed.
Yes.
Where there's been so much power given to the police, where they're kind of able to almost make their own rules in how they deal with the public, without having that accountability in place. Where I think, in New Hampshire, we may not have a lot of that going on, like in some, like other states and cities, but even here, like, we have to make sure that we're not going to have that problem in the future.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that body cam bill had gotten through.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we can't even have that, in this state.
I think we will eventually. And some of them are using them. I know Goffstown has body cams.
They do, okay.
Yeah, and
Good.
but we've never had, we've always had good police here, and they've always, done right. They do their jobs, and and I think.
When I was in college, I studied, the community policing aspect of all of this, and there's been times where it's actually helped to mitigate some crimes and
Yes.
in a lot of congested areas, a lot of urban areas, and the idea of being out in your community and talking to people and not having them be wary of you is is a good tool to have. But again, the line has been skewed so much where the police are so afraid for their own safety and lives that they're willing to put the public in jeopardy.
Yes.
Based on how they react,
Yeah.
and that's kind of a scary thing. Where like now even being pulled over for a traffic stop, it can induce anxiety now.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, I know I have a dash cam.
Yeah.
And that was with our former chief here in Goffstown. I wasn't on his Christmas card giving list. So I threw a dash cam in because and nothing ever happened. I mean, not that we ever had words, but there was a few times. I knew where he stood, and but I said I better throw a dash cam in because you just never know.
And that's exactly right.
And I recommend to everybody to have a dash cam for accidents and stuff like that, and the cool stuff you see on there.
They're actually pretty cheap now.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
But I've got, and I want to put them all together, but just time. I need more time. I'll see cars dart out in front of me, and I was like, whoa, okay. I want to take those little segments.
Absolutely.
And luckily, knock on wood, I've been lucky, never been whacked yet, but it's out there.
You never know, but
Yeah.
it could happen.
Yeah. Now we have a couple pictures that I wanted to throw up.
Sure.
And we could talk about them. And
Okay.
and the first one is what's this picture here? That what were you? Is this your profile?
Yeah. So.
And this is how you campaign? Is this one?
Yeah. So I actually the picture here. I was speaking at a convention in Connecticut. So being in the Libertarian Party, I've been kind of a very public figure as far as all the work that I've been doing while being in the party, and so they asked me to come speak at conventions, and I actually met somebody that does that does photography work, and offered to give me some new profile pictures, and I was like, that's amazing, and I got all that for free. And as you can see, I mean, they look great. I was kind of squinting a little bit because it was bright out there, but yeah, it was it was a great opportunity to meet some new people and get some fresh updates and stuff. So that's all that and I think that's probably the best picture of me I've ever taken. So not gonna lie.
Well, then the other one, what I like is that it's you talking.
Yeah, I like kind of having pictures of me in in action because I think this picture had to have been. So I, so I don't go to the floor actually very often, but when I do, it's probably about a drug issue probably.
Yeah.
So this might have been the marijuana speech that I gave.
Oh.
I think that's what that was.
Yeah.
I'm not one for ego and whatnot, but I mean I'm proud that I can stay up, say that that I went to the House floor on an issue and I was able to successfully convey what I was trying to to get across on the issue, and I mean, if I don't get elected again and I'm only a one-term rep, like I can look back on this and say, like,
Yes, yeah.
I did something awesome. I can pass it along to my, to my kids. I'm gonna say, Dad was successful at sticking up for his beliefs. So,
Well, the thing too is, what I could send you a couple links of, my videos. I snuck in the house because you're really not supposed to do it. And I almost think Dave was with me. I'm almost positive he was. I snuck in the house and did a couple videos right from the floor.
Really?
For campaigning.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've aired them on the TV.
That's so great.
Oh, it is.
Good idea. I might have, have
Yeah,
to.
I'll send you the links to them, and yeah. And then the next one, it looks like you are speaking at an event.
Yes. So this was.
Yeah, you're right at the podium. Now, is that Libertarian, party? Is it Seacoast? Is that what it says?
So this is actually the state affiliate that I'm a part of. It encompasses Stratford and the Rockingham counties together. Yeah. So that was at our state affiliate convention, and this was like the end of it, where they asked me to kind of talk about my plans for the future and kind of like my experiences in the House so far. And so I have this habit of like not actually drafting speeches. I like to be organic as possible. So I didn't write a speech for that. I kind of went up there and was like, this is kind of how I feel about being in office, and here's how we can do better as an affiliate, for the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire. And I was looking for help for my campaign in the future. So, but it's it's being able to have a positive thing to say to people that are trying again to make a difference in politics, and we're such a politics-driven state. It's easy to get people involved. So
oh yes, yeah. No, that's one thing I love about New Hampshire.
I grew up here. I mean, this is basically where I've called home from for a big part of my life. I lived in other states when I was younger. I moved a lot when I was a kid, but spent the most time in this state, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. I actually have our motto tattooed on my back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty heavily tattooed, but people can never tell because I'm always in suits on the House floor. But I have a lot of tattoos actually.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we have a dress code if you wanted to.
I wish I could just like take off the coat and go down to the House floor and all my tattoos out and be like, vote for this bill,
But no, I think you'll do well. Especially if you stick to what you have done. Stick to your beliefs. People, I think, really respect that. And
I just know there are a lot of people that they have a hard time seeing past the partisan blinders, and they only see the R and the D, and they're not gonna go beyond that because they think I'm not gonna have a chance to get ahead. But I've been telling people, like, look to see what I've done, and not the political party that I'm in. See how I voted, see the bills that I've sponsored. See the stuff I do in the community, and just being as engaging as possible. And like, I want to earn your vote for me being the person that I am, and not for the political party that I'm in.
yes.
And that was one of the best things about switching parties, was the relief I felt afterwards of being a part of something that was 100% me. I didn't have to be a part of something I didn't really believe in. I know that's not like a very popular thing to kind of say, after the fact, but I mean, you learn a lot when you get in office, and and you get elected to this position. And I learned a lot. It took me a long time to get to the point that I actually had I realized that it wasn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
And people can change their minds, and it happens every day.
Oh yeah. Well, look at I don't know if you ever met him. He's gone now, but Steve Valancourt.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat, and then a Libertarian, then a Republican, and I think he bounced around back and forth a bunch of times.
I love Steve. I thought he was funny, and I loved his
smart. Very smart.
His speeches from the well were always gold. So I was very sad when he passed.
Yeah. Oh no, I love sitting. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it saddens me when I see a third or a quarter of the House get up when somebody goes to speak.
That is the most frustrating thing, being in the House. It is so rude.
Yeah. I just sit there and I sit in my chair. Now, there are times I got to go to the bathroom, so I get
We
up
all
and
do,
sneak to the restroom. But I always come right back, and I might say hi to somebody on the way back. But I'm most of the time in my chair, and like I said, I've never lost a vote yet. So at 8 years, I got perfect voting. But I love the debate. I love hearing the back and forth, even if I disagree with a person. Like Rep. Rogers, I don't think there's very little I've ever voted with her. But when she gets up on the House floor, I want to hear what she's going to say.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And,
Yeah.
I've told people in my aisles and stuff too, like, I want to hear debate and people that want to support tabling a bill or
I know, I hate that.
And I'm like, let people say what they want to say on an issue. And I'm like, I had a PI, for a bill one time, and I never called, the division or whatever on the bill, and I never got to present that. But it's the idea of being able to be heard that I think that we all, really cherish about the job. And when you finally get up there and you're brave enough to sit there and speak in front of 400 people or so, and people they get up and they walk out. I mean, it kind of hurts our feelings, I think, in some small way, because like I'm trying to present an issue to you. That's kind of why I don't get up, all that often. Because, I don't want that to happen to me.
That's right. Yeah. Yes.
But I feel really passionate about the issues that I've gone up to the floor on, and I feel like I paid attention to that. But I think we have to be honest and say that there are some people that go up and we're like, oh my God, like not again.
Yes, yes, they're repeat offenders up there.
Yes.
Yeah, I go up very seldom.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky, most people will stay for my speeches.
Well, because you do the most classic thing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I love when you do that. We all do. We laugh. I laugh every single time I hear it. It's just so funny because it's just so like you're like get up there and you're like, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it's so perfect. It's so classic. So I thank you for giving me a little laughs during the day when we're up there.
Yes, yeah. Well, what's really funny is, May 24th is Hot Dog Day.
Yes, I'm so pumped for that.
Well, that's it. I have people that say, that's my highlight of the year.
Every year, made in May. I'm ready. I'm ready again. I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I wish the House would do more. I know we're going to argue on the floor, but you've always treated the opposition or supporters, always with respect.
Thank you.
And people want that.
Yeah.
And that's why I hope your voters see that in you. Is even though you disagree with somebody, you'll say, "No, I'm sorry, not going to do it." Yeah. But you don't sit there and go, "You're an idiot" and everything else, because we have reps like that.
I've heard it.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard it.
We have reps that will run you down, and it's like, whoa, no. Because Steve Valancourt told me my first day up there, he said, be nice to everybody, because who you're beating up today on the House floor over a bill, you're going to be holding hands on the next bill.
Absolutely.
And being friends.
Yep.
And I think you've learned that, so I think it's going to work out well for you.
I actually sit next to Rand. Steve Rand, I think is his first name. Steve.
Oh, I don't know him.
He's
It's
Democrat.
sad. There's 400 of us.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I made great friends with him, and I've actually been able to influence his vote a couple times too. And it's like we can have a conversation about an issue and say like, I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to beat you up over it. And we give each other crap every now and then too. But that's just a part of being seatmates. And but at the end of the day, like we can walk away and be like, I'm happy to know you. I think you're a great person politically. We're like on polar opposites, But my biggest takeaway in sitting there is being able to talk to the people around me and say like, here's what I feel about this. I would like you to support my view, and I think we all do that. But my views have always been like I think in the best interests of the people of New Hampshire and not for the state. I want the people to have the most freedom. I want the people to have the most money in their pockets.
That's right. That's me.
And keep the state within the confines of the Constitution. That's all I've
absolutely.
ever asked for.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's me. I just want to keep the government as small as we can keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you, growing 600 million, even though it wasn't costing the taxpayers anything, but we could have done a lot with that 600 million.
Yeah, like, not take it in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what was funny is then they say, well, there's no bills to reduce it. The money's coming in, we got to spend it. And I said, no,
we
you
don't.
Put it in the rainy
No,
day
we don't
fund.
at all, no.
And then the following year, cut some tax somewheres, especially the business tax. We got to keep cutting that. To draw more business into the state.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I would like to get rid of most, if not all, taxes altogether.
Yeah.
But that's a part of our party platform.
Yeah.
We think taxation is extortion.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say theft because I don't do the sloganeering stuff. But I think that when the state says you will forfeit a portion of your income or you need to pay us a fee to own your own land, and you don't do that, then men with guns and badges will come and haul you off to jail. That to me isn't really a free society.
Yeah.
That to me isn't promoting a free market economy.
Yeah.
That's with the threat of violence, and I can't support that. So.
Yeah. I'd like to see you on criminal justice with me.
I would love to, John, but
It's
your committee is so busy,
It
and
is.
I have a full-time job outside of
Yeah.
this, and I have my daughter who's sitting there playing on her game with me.
Yes.
I am
Yeah, no, it's a swamped committee. I mean, I love being on there, but it is a full-time committee.
Your committee has all the bills that I care about because
Yeah.
I've gotten an education in that field, and you're the most interesting things to debate. I'm actually on state federal relations, and we also do some of the veterans bills too.
Yeah.
And being in the military, I care a lot about that as well. So
Yeah.
I know we're getting
Yes, yeah, we are at the end, and Brandon, I just want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you
It
again
was
so
a
much for having me
pleasure.
here. Yes.
Yeah, and again, we had Representative Brandon Phinney, and he's in District 24 over in Rochester, and until next week, I'll see you then. Have a
Yes.
nice day now.
See you later.
Bye.